G'day, welcome back. You are listening to Super Freak. My friends, you all are bringing the questions. I'm loving it. And what I love this week so much is that one of the questions that came up in our questionnaire, so if you want to fill in the questionnaire at the bottom of this episode and ask me a question that you'd love for me to speak to on the podcast, one of the questions that came up is something that I've actually been speaking about with 3 or 4 of my clients in the past couple of weeks. So I love when that happens. It means it's a common theme. It means that it's not just one person that's thinking about it. So here we go. So today, the question is, how can I stop feeling that if everything doesn't turn out the way that I hoped it would, it's the end of the world, i.e., how can I become more of a carefree person in general? Let's just dive straight in. So I have some really practical tips, but before, they're actually 10 practical tips. It sounds really funny because that sounds like a really structured way to talk about being carefree. But before we can get into the tips, I need you to know what being carefree actually means. And there is something so cool about this question that I need you to know. Like, this question just is so cool for so many reasons. So first of all, that is a super heavy feeling. Like, if things don't turn out the way we hope, it's the end of the world, and it is a lot of pressure, and that doesn't feel good. Like, it's not a nice feeling going into doing something. And I've been there many times too. Actually, the first time I recall really feeling that feeling is when I was training martial arts. You guys have heard me talk about training martial arts so often, but you know I draw so much from it. But training martial arts, and we were going to like world titles, big world competitions. And actually, it wasn't after winning like the first world competition, although there was a lot of pressure. It was actually after winning the first time and feeling like I needed to kind of keep it up. There was some kind of extra pressure that came in after I won, like I needed to keep something, or like it could be taken away from me if somebody else won. I don't know, kind of weird, right? But I wasn't the only one who felt this pressure anyway. Like, everyone felt it because like we were training for 2 whole years before one tournament. There was no money involved. It was just the glory. It was just the glory. But we would all be training, 3, 5, however many days a week we would train. I mean, for me, it was almost every day. Hours of time you'd give up going to lots of different things, and you'd pay a lot of money to travel across the world and do this tournament everyone knew you were kind of doing. And yeah, we'd be giving up so much of our time to train, and it might be all for nothing. And over the years, I actually saw so many people quit out of just being a little bit disheartened by it, or become a little bit bitter. Like, to them, it was the end of the world if they didn't win the world championships, even though there was only one trophy. And that was so sad because it really wasn't about the trophy at the end of the day. Anyway, I think the main message I want to give you is when you are too focused on the results, like when you're really worried that if everything doesn't turn out the way I hoped, when you're too focused on how things are going to turn out, the end result, it meaning something about you or about what you're capable of, not only then does the journey to get there kind of suck. It's full of pressure. It's not enjoyable because it's a means to an end. It's like, I'm training now to get this glory moment in 2 years' time. It's a means to an end. I'm working really hard for something later. And if you don't get it, you risk not only it feels like a waste of time, those past few years, but you also risk making up so many stories about what it means for you if you don't get it that aren't good. Like, maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe I'm just not that kind of person, blah, blah. I'm not even going to go into all the different stories that we can make up because every situation is different. It's not always got to do with athleticism. It could be, a health thing that you're worried about that doesn't work out or doesn't feel like it's working out. It could be a money thing. It could be a business thing. It could be a family or relationship thing. And all of these things, we can end up creating meaning about ourselves, meaning about life, meaning about the world, meaning about others, meaning about men, meaning about health that are not helpful, right? So today I'm going to bring you 10 things you can do to become a more carefree person in general and not stress so much if things don't turn out the way that you want them to. Like, you won't feel like it's the end of the world. But I have to say, the reason I love this question is because to be able to do this, to be able to become a carefree person, especially in the face of something that you really, truly desire, that maybe doesn't look like it's going to happen for you, or it hasn't happened yet, or you're not sure if it's possible, it's a really big dream. To be able to do this, is one of the keys to high performance and getting what you want. To be able to relax under pressure, huge pressure. To be able to find flow and freedom in the process, in the journey, in the creating, to enjoy the ride, to let go of a means to an end, and to be able to enjoy your life while creating epic results. That is the key to high performance. So there is actually this really cool kind of doorway that opens by answering this question, by being able to answer this question for yourself. You open yourself up to so much more. It's not just about like feeling better about a result. Being able to do this is the key to being able to create anything you want in your life and actually enjoy the process as well. So it helps you by being able to be more, let's call it carefree for now, but carefree, and you're able to relax, let go, enjoy your life. It helps you learn faster because you're not so attached to needing to learn because of a result. You just get to enjoy the process of learning, which helps you retain information properly for the long term, which helps you feel less pressure, as in it feels lighter. You feel lighter about the whole thing, which then increases your ability to think quickly and think creatively because you're not feeling the pressure. You're just focused on, flow and play and whatever it is that you need to do. You're not your bandwidth isn't being taken up by all this negative thinking about how well you need to go. Like, think how hard it is to create freely and enjoy creation when someone is breathing down your neck or there's a time pressure or something like that. When you can feel less pressure, you do increase your ability to think quickly, think creatively, which means you open yourself up for speedier decision-making, more efficient action-taking. Like, being carefree is everything when it comes to super freakish performance. This is why I love this question so much. Now, I'm not saying it's easy in the face of something that you genuinely want so badly, but I am saying that what I'm about to share with you will help you get more of what you want and feel more carefree about it in general. And by doing both of those things, it actually, from an energetics perspective, which we're going to get into, it draws what you want closer to you. One more thing I also want you to know is that being carefree doesn't actually mean that you don't care. It's a bit of a paradox, I know, but being carefree is more about being in the moment and being less attached to the result than you are about what you're doing in the moment. So it's about caring more about this present moment and the journey and the process than it is about the result. That is being carefree. I don't want you not to care. Caring is what makes us connect as humans. It's what drives the really big decisions and it drives the really big goals, and it fuels so much creativity, caring really deeply about something. It's what makes us humans. So I don't think we should call it being carefree. It really should be like being future tripping free. It should be making meaning of things free, being free of the feeling that something could take something away from you if you don't get a certain result, like feeling whole. That really is what being carefree is. It's not that you don't care. And that's a very important distinction here, because in looking at people who seem very relaxed in a process, it's very easy to interpret or believe that they don't actually care because they have a carefree kind of energy about them. And it would be a mistake to be careless or to not care in the pursuit of being carefree because you take all the joy out of the actual process and the purpose out of it, And I have to talk about the energetics of this too, because this is my favorite perspective on it. By you not being concerned about the end result and simply being in the now, doing the very best that you can, paying attention to your mindset, and I'm going to give you tips for how to do that in a second. Like really, really being here, focused on what you want, having positive intent, taking action in alignment with that positive intent, enjoying that action, making it feel good, all of that. By doing all of that, you're actually detaching yourself, divorcing yourself from the meaning that you've placed on the result. You're detaching yourself from needing that result in order to feel a certain way or to feel good. You're placing more investment on the enjoyment of the creating and not the result itself. And in doing that, in pouring your enjoyment and heart and energy into the thing that you're actually doing in this moment, you're actually more in alignment with the energy of already having the result. So if you think about what it feels like to have the result, there's probably some relief, some joy, maybe a feeling of happiness. I don't know, it's going to be different for everyone. But by generating that feeling in your body now, you're generating the feelings of already having it. a lot of the time we want to create a result that is outside of our current experience, outside of our current reality. We don't have it yet. It's in the future. We're not sure if it's possible. There's a certain feeling inside of our bodies when we're going to create it. And that might be like hopefulness or wishing or wanting or desiring something. It's not like, I have it. That's me. It's mine. It's boring. It's expected. There's two very different kind of feelings, thought processes, beliefs that we have, things that we say to ourselves. And all of that creates what we would call like an energy. Some people call it a vibration. So when you have an energy or a vibration or a feeling or, that whole belief system, that whole cluster of like all the things that is the same as the end result, it's really easy to create a sustainable outcome. It's really easy to create the result. So the best example of this I can give you in terms of how your energy makes a difference to the result is if you think about like, when you've got to write an email, like something happens and you're kind of annoyed and you've got to write an email to someone or a text. If you come at that text or that piece of writing, that email, whatever, and you're kind of pissed and you are writing it from that place, like you're resentful, you're kind of pissed, you're angry, you're trying to just get the words out, but you're annoyed. The words come out very differently to if you take some time and you feel kind of neutral towards the thing. It's not maybe if you were writing it for someone else about something that's not really your experience, you know what I mean? You get a really different result because it comes out differently. So it's the same as the way that we show up, the way that we actually take action, the way we do things comes out very differently when you're connected from a different way to the end result, as in you're connected to the energy of the end result. You're feeling the feelings of having it right now. You're taking actions that feel like you already have it. You're speaking to yourself very differently. That makes a huge difference. Okay. So also your non-attachment to that result, as in your investment in the now, your investment in it's not a means to an end. It's like enjoying my life. That makes you really ironically more attractive to the result. This is another paradox. It's a really weird thing, but when you have a really desperate kind of wanting energy, you're needy for it, and you have the feelings and the thoughts and the actions and the self-talk that you generate, that has a very different energy to when you're okay either way. Another example of that is like dating. Have you ever dated someone? Maybe you've been this person where, I know I have, where you felt really needy, like you really wanted them to like you, or you've been dating someone and they've been super needy. It's not attractive. It's unfortunate because it's not something that we can always, well, it is something that we can help, but when we're needy, it's because we think we need that thing in order to be okay. And if you can be okay either way, you can be non-attached to the result, and the result comes a lot easier because you're not thinking about what would happen if you didn't get it. You're actually thinking about just living your life and enjoying yourself, which means you're going to take very different actions towards making it happen, if that makes sense. Okay, so all of this to say, it is a very worthwhile pursuit. And in fact, I think this is the kind of work that should be daily mindset work to help you, like becoming carefree and becoming future tripping free is the kind of daily mindset work I think everybody should be doing, especially if you have goals that are quite big, that feel impossible, that feel that they really inspire you, but they scare you. Maybe you don't know anyone else who's done it. This is the kind of work that you need to do to get your energy behind it and to continue going in the face of failures, in the face of setback, in the face of fear. In order to be able to keep going, you need to be able to do this kind of work. So here are some strategies to help you embrace a more relaxed approach to life, but also, as a side benefit, attract more of the things you want more quickly and more easily to you. So there are 10. Number 1 is love on yourself really hard. I'm going to warn you, some of these are very practical, tangible, step-by-step, here's what you can do, and a lot of it is mindset and energetic work that helps you show up very differently. So number 1 is love hard on yourself. This is about practicing self-compassion, self-love, self-acceptance, positive self-talk. Be really, really, really kind to yourself. Things will not always go your way just because you have a positive mindset or a positive intention. In fact, a lot of people I work with have these dreams and goals and they feel impossible. They feel bigger than them. They feel like they're not within their control. They're literally creating in the unknown every single day. And that is a recipe for questioning if you're crazy or thinking that you can't do that. And so we need to have a practice of being very, very kind to ourselves while we're learning something new, while we're working with the unknown, while we're risking failure. And sometimes even, like, let's be honest, potentially when the people around you don't believe in what you're doing either. Like maybe they're concerned about you, or they don't believe in it, or they don't like it. Also, you're going to mess up. It's a given, right? You're going to try things and they're not going to work. And the meaning that you make of that doesn't mean it's not going to work, right? It means nothing. So we have to love on ourselves really hard and know that we are going to mess up and not make that mean that it's over. So you have to be able to be really kind to yourself, trust your pace, be accepting when things don't go the way you want, and not make it mean anything about you. And that is how you love on yourself really, really hard. Okay, so that was number one. Number two is shift your perspective. So shifting your perspective is always about questioning if what you believe to be true about this thing is the ultimate truth. And it's not. I can say, like, with certainty, what you believe about this thing to be true is not the ultimate truth. We are meaning-making creatures. We make meaning of everything. So if the meaning that you have made, or the thing that you think is true about this thing, is impacting you, it doesn't feel good, you can change that. And that is what shifting your perspective is. So shifting your perspective is about going, okay, what else might also be true at the same time that feels a little bit better than this? Something like, well, it's safe for me to make mistakes. It's safe for me to have what I want. It's also safe if it doesn't happen. So to make this example real, I was talking to someone recently and they have a business. And we were just talking about some challenges that are going on in the growth phase of the business. And I said, what would make this feel easy for you? Because it was just feeling a little bit like hard. The feeling was, it's hard. And this person said to me, I need X amount of dollars to just solve this one problem that would make everything else feel so much easier. It was X amount of dollars. I said, great, money we can do. That's easy. And she was like, no, it's not easy because da, 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 da. And there were all these reasons why money was not going to be easy to come by. And she had very convincing reasons why that was true. And we just sat with every one of them, or this is what I asked her to do. Is it ultimately true that you are completely, X, Y, Z? Is it ultimately true that that is a hard amount of money to make? Is it ultimately true? Is it ultimately true that it is absolutely impossible, And when she sat with it for 2 seconds, she was like, no, that's not true at all. But the thing is, we don't often slow ourselves down enough to really explore the repetitive thoughts that are going on that are causing us to feel stressed or to feel anxious or to feel like it was difficult. So as soon as she sat down, she's a smart lady, as soon as she sat down and just went, oh, no, that's actually not ultimately true. It's just money. I can do blah, 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 blah. The problem was gone. So rather than trying to be a strong-willed person who just doesn't let difficult thoughts pass through the mind, like you just kind of push them away or ignore them, I actually want you to stop, drop, and look at reframing them. Stop, drop, write it out and ask yourself, is this ultimately true? Does that make sense? The other things you can do is ask, is it ultimately true? But also, like, what else might be true? What else might be true? So it could be something like, well, it is safe for me to have what I want. It's safe for me to go for what I want. There are always options available. By the way, something being safe for you to have what you really want is like a whole other podcast in itself. But I will say this, you will achieve results that feel normal and expected to you. So some part of you needs to feel like it's you to have that result. Otherwise, you'll push that result away or you'll create resistance between you and that thing. We can get the result and feel like we're not ready for it. And then we get imposter syndrome. But imposter syndrome is just not true because you don't get results that you are not in alignment with in some way. You can feel like it's a fluke, but it's the same deal. It's not. So if you want to start achieving more than you ever have, it's a great move to start teaching your body to feel safe with the result that you want. And I'm going to talk more about that in one of the future tips in this episode. So shifting your perspective is about asking yourself whether the things you think are true are ultimately true, and then looking at what else might be true so that you can feel better. It's about focusing on the big picture, knowing that often setbacks feel more significant in the moment than what they actually are, and looking at what you're telling yourself and asking yourself, is that ultimately true? Looking at all of the challenges and asking, like, is this really a challenge? Does it mean that I'm never going to make it? Does it mean that it's impossible for me? Or is it an opportunity to learn? Or is it simply something that I am believing is in the way? Shifting your perspective, the daily mindset work that needs to happen. Okay. Number 3 is develop and keep a growth mindset. So you're doing the work to shift your perspective. You're also focused on growth. Now, what that means is looking to extract lessons, insights, and learnings from every experience and every opportunity. You need to understand that everything that happens, whether it's positive or negative, is a chance to learn, a chance to grow, and potentially a chance to extract some kind of wisdom or knowledge or insight that's going to help you make faster decisions in the future, that's going to help you with not repeating the same mistakes in the past. And we call this, in my work, we call this extracting distinctions. A distinction is a whole lot of learning summed up in a single sentence. So you don't have to think through all of your memories. You just have to think through your distinctions. It helps you make decisions in the future. Another part of keeping a growth mindset is celebrating your efforts, celebrating any progress that you make, focusing on the effort that you put into a situation rather than, just the result that you need or the outcome, and only ever comparing yourself to previous versions of you, nobody else. This is a growth mindset. It's like creating a safe little cocoon whereby everything that happens, you're turning it into a way that you can learn from, embrace, move forward with, and actually get better with. You're celebrating every single thing that you do, especially your progress, and you are only comparing yourself just to you. Okay, number 4, stay present. What this means is, and think about this, carefree people, they don't care about the future. They're not stressed about what is going to happen. They're enjoying themselves in the moment. What this means is you're not future tripping in the future. Like, you're not thinking about the future unless you're doing it intentionally, which is a tip we're going to get to. You're also not in the past unless you're going back there to shower yourself with appreciation and gratitude for things that you've done and how far you've come, or to go back and learn something. And also you're letting go of needing to have control over everything, because ultimately we don't have as much control as we think we can have. And accepting, right, that the more that you let go of what you could never control anyway, what you just thought you could control but you never could, the more in control you feel, because you're only focused on what's within your power. So for example, with fighting, when I was doing martial arts, I couldn't control the weather. I couldn't control how I felt on the day of the competition. I couldn't control who I fought against or the referees or what kind of stupid shit someone would do to try and psych me out. There was a lot of that. I couldn't control who was watching or what they were saying or what someone was yelling from the crowd. If I fell and got an injury, I couldn't, but I could focus on just getting the next point. Just getting the next point, no matter what happens, just getting the next point. And that helped me feel more in control than ever, and actually helped me feel more carefree about what was going on, and got some really good results. So stay present and do whatever you need to get present. Number 5 is pace yourself. Here at Super Freak, in my company, we deal with having massive goals. I am not the kind of person who is ever going to tell you, don't go for what you really want, go for what is realistic. I don't like that word, right? Just go for what you think you can have. Go for what you think is available for you. I don't like that. But I am going to say, and this, again, it sounds like a paradox, but it's not. I'm going to say pace yourself. I'm going to say sometimes you need to lower your expectations of yourself in the moment so you can actually achieve incredible things over time. Sometimes we go for something so big and then we have no milestones in the middle, so there's nowhere to appreciate, there's no room to appreciate how far we've come, and you kind of blow your nervous system. So you got to let yourself grow into something and set the bar so that you have all the wins along the way and you can continue to celebrate yourself and celebrate your growth and celebrate your progress. So often people quit or they stop because they're not seeing their own progress, and that is a really disheartening place to be. But if you pace yourself and you accept that perfection is unattainable immediately, and all the things that are imperfect about you and all the ways that you'll fail and all the ways that you'll stuff up and learn, they make life interesting. They make life meaningful. If you can do that, you're actually going to have a really great time creating results that you want, because you're not going to blow out your nervous system. We've all been there. We've set a massive goal. Maybe it's a money goal. Maybe it's something we want it to happen by X amount of time. It feels really exciting at first, and then it just feels horrible, like pressure. And every day we're not achieving it, it feels like we've failed. That sucks. Don't do that. Pace yourself instead. That's number 5. Okay. Number 6 is build resilience. So what that means is, and this is similar to the mindset work, we talk about focusing on what you want. We talk about being positive, and we also know that things are not going to go the way that we want them to go, in the timing that we want, at the pace that we want. Like, we have to be resilient and have coping mechanisms. So first of all, how do you deal with stress? How do you cope with stress? How do you actively prevent yourself going into stress so that you don't have to kind of have a comeback strategy or fix anything? Like, what can you put into your life every single day so that the stress and the pressure doesn't become too much? Right? So maybe that's exercise, maybe that's journaling, maybe that's talking to a friend, maybe it is some kind of hobby that you love, like surfing or something. So that's the first thing, is like front loading your life with things that feel good, so you build up a tolerance for working with the unknown or dealing with pressure, or, it's a resilience kind of practice. The second thing is, I want you to have a comeback strategy. So whatever you did to get yourself last into a super amazing energy that you just felt unstoppable, you felt really good, what did you do? How'd you get there? Use that insight to know what it is that it takes for you to be able to come back when you fall off the horse, because you're going to fall off the horse. It's like guaranteed you're going to fall off the horse. Even if you're so excited about what you're doing, you might get injured, you might get bored, you might just feel like, oh, I'm not even sure if I want this. And the key is not to try and avoid that ever happening, because it's human. The key is to know how to come back and to increase, or decrease rather, the amount of time it takes you to come back each time. Okay, so what do you need to do to get yourself back in the energy? The other thing that you can also do, something I love doing with clients, is looking back on past successes and remembering how impossible it felt before you did it, how hard you thought it was going to be, how you thought everything was going to fall apart, how you weren't sure about yourself. You were 100% sure that this is the last time you're ever going to achieve anything you want, if this ever happens even. And then it happened, and now it feels normal and you don't really care and it doesn't feel like a big deal. But this time, this thing that you're working on, this goal, this feels serious. This feels like a big goal. This feels like you're really pushing it with the universe. And it's no different. It's exactly the same every single time. We just make it different in our minds. I think it was Abraham Hicks in The Law of Attraction, that big book, The Law of Attraction, and they say, manifesting a paperclip is the same as manifesting a castle. We just make it different. I'm butchering that. I don't know how they said it, but that's kind of what we're getting at here. Every past success you've had, at one point, everything that you have now once felt impossible. So whatever you think is impossible now is not impossible. It's just that you're making it up that's impossible, and that belief is completely getting in the way of you being creative and looking after yourself and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so build resilience. Number 7, practice gratitude. This is just about focusing on what's working rather than what's not. And if you really want to continue to build that resilience and to feel really good along the journey and to keep a positive mindset when everything is uncertain, focus on what's working rather than what's not. We are so conditioned. Our brains want to go to what's not working because, if you think all the way back to when we were like cave people, we had to focus on what was not working because we needed to know what were the potential threats so we could keep ourselves alive and keep ourselves safe. So it's a very natural thing that we do to focus on what's not working and what's not good. And I can tell you that we don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to focus on what's not working. We can spend a little bit of attention on it and fix the things that are not working, of course, but I want you to place more investment of your energy and time into what is working so you can feel really good about your progress and have gratitude for yourself. Celebrate yourself, celebrate your progress, celebrate how far you've come, celebrate every single milestone and have gratitude for the fact that you showed up and you are doing it, because it is really easy to continue to feel the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that gap feels like what's not working. And it's really discouraging and draining. And I don't want you to stop. So you need to focus on how far you've come and what's working. because you're doing things. This one is especially important when you're working on something that feels really big and impossible, because there's literally nobody there saying like, come on, you can do it. Sometimes there's no like party on the other side. When you're doing something you feel like you don't know what anyone else has done, or it feels like this great big secret, there's no one there to go like, this is what you do, let's go. So you have to find ways to have gratitude for yourself and really encourage yourself, and gratitude is awesome. Also, we know this, like you can't be in a bad mood and be grateful at the same time. So important. Okay. Number 8, visualize your success. So I mentioned before, teaching your body how to feel safe having the result that you want. I don't know if you know this, you would have heard me say it before if you listened to this podcast for a while, but your brain and body, like your subconscious, it doesn't know the difference between imagining something happening and you actually doing it. The same neurons, the same neural pathways are being fired off. You're sending impulse traffic down those highways when you are imagining doing the thing. So it's really important that you're imagining things to go right. Now, often what happens when we bring up anxiety in our bodies is when we are firing that impulse traffic down those neural pathways and we're imagining it to go wrong. Like we're imagining, everything's good, something messes up. And that you're kind of teaching your body that same kind of process, and it's causing you to have feelings in your body of it not working before you've even started, which is where we get tight and anxious. And visualizing doesn't have to be visual, by the way. You could smell it, you could taste it, you could feel it, you could say it to yourself, you could journal it out, you could, it doesn't have to be visual. Visualization does not have to be visual. Let's just get that really, really clear. What you need to do though is imagine it to go exactly the way that you want, and continue to teach yourself to imagine it going exactly the way that you want until you have no resistance to that. Until it almost doesn't feel exciting. It just feels like this is the way that it is. Because when you feel safe with something, you're not excited by it. You just feel neutral about it. You feel kind of whatever about it. That's when you feel safe. It's not when you feel excited and hyped and pumped or scared or whatever. You feel neutral. So I want you to continue to imagine success. Imagine the whole thing happening better than you could have imagined, and feel the feelings of it going exactly the way that you want it and not questioning it and almost feeling bored by it. Super high performance technique. And you're teaching your body to feel safe by going there so often that it feels normal. It's almost boring, okay? Visualize yourself even, or imagine yourself handling challenges with ease and handling them with grace, and being able to just pop over those boundaries like they're a little fence that you're just hopping over. And also imagine yourself to have all the resources that you need flowing towards you in the perfect amount of time. It's such a good practice. The time that I would best recommend that you visualize is right before you go to sleep as well, because it's how you start conditioning your brain. You know, you're kind of reprogramming yourself before you go to sleep, which is when you start to process information. So it's just a really nice thing to do. It's also really great at helping you fall asleep. Okay, number 9, pleasure over pressure. Do what makes your spirit high. I don't like the idea really of like pushing through to a result as a means to an end, as in like pushing yourself really hard, not enjoying your life, training really hard for a tournament so that you can win the tournament and then you'll celebrate after the tournament. No, boring. What a waste of precious life. So find a way instead to love what you do. Find a way to love the process. Find a way to love the journey. And if that's not possible right now because what you really want, an outcome that you really want, requires you to go through something hard, you know, I'm imagining like chemo or something like that. If that's not possible, to just find a way to love chemo, right? I have seen people do that, by the way, but if it doesn't feel possible right now, find ways to find joy and peace and pleasure and a sense of wholeness and love, and to feel good every day outside of taking the actions that don't necessarily feel good. And if you can prioritize that and have more joy in your life, have more pleasure, it actually decreases the pressure. So prioritize that. You'll actually create more time. You'll create more space and more energy for you to achieve all the things and do all the things and tick off all the tasks, right? So pleasure over pressure. The next thing I want you to do to make your spirit high is pursue things that you love, engage in activities that bring you joy, that bring you relaxation. I don't know why this is, but like people don't have hobbies anymore. Maybe it's social media or whatever, but get a hobby. Have something that you love to do that maybe doesn't have anything to do with like success or work. It's just something that you just love, that creatively fills you up, or the time passes when you're doing it. have a hobby. It will help balance your stress. It will help increase your overall happiness. It will help you take the pressure and strain off all these like big attainment of goals, things that you have. It helps you remember that there's more to life outside of your goals. It kind of releases the pressure valve off your goals, which is such a good thing to happen. And you turn that mountain into a molehill by remembering that there are like other things to life, which is also another way to remain carefree because you're keeping your perspective balanced. The other thing to do is obviously take breaks. So allow yourself to just rest and recharge, and it can improve your productivity and then it can improve your mood. So number 9, pleasure over pressure. Keep doing shit you like. Number 10, here we are, the final one. And it is, you've heard me say this a million times, create a supportive environment. Surround yourself with people you love, positivity, people who uplift and encourage and inspire you, people who believe in you, people who are not triggered by you, people who might not even understand what it is that you're doing, but they're like, you rock, like go for it. Do you know what I mean? And just try to limit your exposure to negativity. One of the things I really believe is if someone doesn't get you, you don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to explain your beliefs or what you're doing or what you're trying to accomplish or achieve. Just get on with it and don't worry about trying to justify yourself. As long as you get you and what you're doing, that's all that matters. You can also seek professional help. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can consider talking to someone, a therapist, a counselor, a coach, but you can also surround yourself with the right people in a professional setting whereby the whole environment is designed to help set you up for success in creating what it is that you want and moving through resistance really quickly and working on your mindset, etc. And of course, that's what I do. That's what I do. So remember, all of this is what carefree people are doing, often so unconsciously that they don't even realize it. It's unconscious. And it's also what the highest performers in the world are doing, but they're doing it intentionally. So that's something to think about. Now, which one do you love? 1 to 10. Is there one that you know that you can really focus on right now? One that you think, oh, I'm not doing that at all. I can really action that. If there was one action I could give you off the back of this episode, it would be to explore your mindset daily. And what does that mean? It means sit with a journal or an open Word doc and just ask yourself questions like, what's in the way of me having what I want? What is it that I really, 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 truly, truly want? What do I believe about that? What part of me feels like it needs to be hard and why? Where am I getting in my own way? What do I believe is true? What is that ultimately true? What else is true? What do I now decide is true for me? What resources do I need? What resources do I already have? What meaning am I going to make of all of this? How do I already, in a way, know that this is for me and it's happening and it's working? How do I want to show up? What would make me proud? Things like that. Now, this is the kind of work we do every day in the Fierce Salon, which is a group coaching mastermind that I run. I've run it for 9 years. And people achieve the most incredible things. Like, it blows my mind. And that's going to be opening in September this year. We've moved it back. We're starting in September. But if you join the waitlist, which I'll link it up underneath this episode, you'll have the opportunity to get bonus mentoring with me starting like now. So I'll leave that link under here because I really feel like this episode holds so much of the energy of how we think and how we play in the Fierce Salon. So if you like this kind of conversation and you like these kind of tips and you'd like this to be who you kind of are, carefree and able to achieve amazing things, you will love the salon. Okay. Actually, I'd love to hear from you. Like, which one are you going to pick to work on? I would love to know. No matter where you're listening to this, you can always come back to my website and answer under the comments, so you can comment on it if you can comment on it wherever you're listening. So remember, everything that you want is so much closer than you think. So stay curious and stay open. I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you so much for being here.